getting buy-in across campus and rolling out use of the product and adoption of the product. Is that something that you shepherd as part of your work in students, in matching together student success and with good tools and technologies?
Yes, definitely. Because if you don't have adoption, then you don't have a product at all. You basically threw away the money, right? The thing is, you need to get buy-in ahead of time. Like if the constituents or the groups that the colleges are working with come up with their wish list, right? So at that point, when they came up with their wish list, they're committed to something. If I put that, I wish my house had a pool, I will go look for a house that has a pool. And so that person is already bought in. That person is already committed, right? So you're looking for a level of commitment. And by doing that initial wish list and then going out and saying, wow, this house has a pool. Well, that person sold because the house has a pool, right? And so you do that and you make sure, and your and the group that you bring in, the different people across the district you bring in, should not be the people who love it, and should not be the people who, I absolutely have to have this because it has a pool. It has to be the people like, I don't even want to buy a house. Like, why? I like the one I have. I'm happy. Why change? I don't want to move. I don't want to do anything. That's actually the people you want on the team. You know why? Because they were outspoken. They say they don't like it. They said they don't want it. But they'll be your biggest evangelist if you can convince them to say, hey, look, it's not moldy, it's not this and that, it's a different home, it's closer to work, whatever the idealism is, right? But you get those people and get them in the front end. Don't be afraid, because the worst thing you can do is shut them out, because then they'll be loud. Not only that they'll be loud, they'll be against your project and be very verbal about. They'll be very verbal about being against your project, right? And they can actually, set your project to a halt if you don't get their buy-in. But if you, even at the end of the day, they tell you that they don't want to move, but they'll accept it. They'll see the reason why, right? So even if you don't get them on their side, they don't become your champion. They don't become your evangelist, but you've already shown them. And so there's not this mystery of, the unknowns are the worst. The human mind with the unknown is the worst thing. Assumptions are your worst enemy, right? People assume that it's this and that, and that's not really what it is. People assume that, something, they're out to get you. Buying a house with a pool, but it has a camera, so I know what So people come up with lots of stories, and you want to dispel those up front. You want them to be able to ask the vendor the hard questions. And you want to see how the vendor handles it too, and so it goes both ways, right? You want to see how that goes, and how they react to that is very important. So you have some, and this is even before the partnership, or before you're committed to this product or any product, right? You want to see how the vendor reacts to your, outspoken colleagues, because if you think about it, I think about it like as a probational period, right? So if this is the way you're going to treat me, like one rule in management I have is, when you hire an employee, the first 3 months there, that's the best they're giving you because they're on probation. Can you imagine what you're going to get afterwards? So you need to take care of that up front, right? If they're going to be not a good partner, if they're going to treat your colleague like this, that's your colleague. Whether you love them or you don't, it's your colleague, like it's family. And your person from outside needs to treat them very well, no matter what the circumstances are, so that shows you, like, at least it shows me, a very culture of a company. And that's very important, to me, when we deal with partnerships and stuff too.
Yeah, it's both, it's really smart, because it makes sense from a human perspective, right? It's getting folks to be part of the process from the beginning, but it's also vetting the human side of whatever vendor you're working with to see how they're going to work with your community, because ultimately it's not just the person who ultimately gets to make the final decision that the product is going to be used by. It's going to be used across the campus, and ideally you want as many people to buy in and be stakeholders, like you said. Otherwise, it's a product taking up space on the shelf, not getting utilized. It's not being leveraged in the way that you intend to make a difference for students.
Exactly, and it's also your credibility, right? If you're launching a product and you bring in a vendor and the vendor is treating your colleagues terribly, how are you going to build your next one? How are you going to build your next project you want to be on, right? So really, if you're the one that's leading it and you're the one like, hey, check out this house, it's amazing. A landlord comes in and starts yelling at your family. Well, it's on you, right? Kind of, even though it's not, it is. So it's all about the whole around credibility. Try to build your infrastructure at the same time as collegially as you can. Get buy-in, get understanding. Because a lot of times it's not that someone hates or doesn't like it; it's because they don't understand it.